Hey everyone, welcome to Aussie Footy Chats, episode 21, West Coast Trade Chats. So we're going to talk about the West Coast Football Club today, over in Western Australia, based in Perth. So the West Coast Football Club struggled. They didn't basically finish down the bottom of the ladder this year, once again after a few seasons down the bottom. They're struggling. They brought in a few number one picks like Harley Reid, who's still finding his craft, and just signed him on a mega deal. So that's the positive sort of stuff for them. Unfortunately, they lost Jeremy McGovern due to injury, concussion. So it was a retirement forced due to concussion with all the changes now. And yeah, just wanted to say congratulations on your career, mate. Been a great centre back, fullback type player who, marked well above your head for your size. And yeah, had an interesting career and made it quite well. Premiership player, All Australian. And yeah, just congratulations to you, mate. You'll be missed at the club, and be quite a bit of experience missing. So let's start with the trade as well. So the free agency sort of opened up, and Oscar Allen elected to move to Brisbane. Oscar Allen was the West Coast captain. He's no longer captain, obviously, now moving on to Brisbane. But the whole controversy with him meeting with Sam Mitchell and having a cup of coffee, kicked off a bit of a storm for him and had to come out and publicly apologise during the season. And then, Brisbane come in and capitalised on him and, missing a key forward since Dan Herr's retirement a couple of seasons ago. So, he's now elected to leave West Coast. After a few injuries, he's had a few injuries throughout his career, and he just quite struggled. So, but he worked up his way up the ladder and was one of the most experienced players at West Coast and being the captain. So he left, and that compensation pick was pick 2. So quite a high pick. He was a well-valued player and one of their highest paid players on the list. So that resulted in pick 2 going to West Coast. And so Oscar Allen has left, and he's no longer there. So that left a hole in their side. So they went in to go for a trade. So one of the big mega trades of the trade period was Brendan Starcevic. So Brisbane Premiership player, dual Premiership player, quite a good player. He unfortunately has had concussion issues as well. So he did get a concussion in the grand final. But great player. He's sort of your third defender, third tall height, key position player, but also can play on the smalls. So he can play almost as like a halfback, but a third key tool. And so we'll talk about what the trade involved. So West Coast receives Brendan Starcevic, pick 12, pick 33, pick 52. They also gave up pick 16, 22, and 23. So they gave up 2 picks in the 20s and received a pick 33 and a pick 52, including pick 12. So that's we'll talk about Brisbane. So they received pick 16, 22, 44, and 50, and it gives up Brendan Starcevic and pick 19 and pick 46 and pick 52. It also involved Fremantle, which this doesn't happen a real lot. I think it's the first trade between the two clubs in a long time. A bit similar to Port Adelaide and the Crows. I think Billy Frampton was the last trade. Before that, I think it was Matthew Bode back, a few decades ago, essentially. So Fremantle receives pick 19, 23, and 46. And it gave up pick 12, 33, 44, and 50. So it was a 3-club trade. The West Coast Eagles needed to trade for Brendan Starcevic, even though he was a free agent. So that didn't dilute their pick 2 compensation pick. So quite a smart deal by West Coast to do that. obviously with McGovern going out of the lineup, they needed a defender, a bit of a different player still though, not so much your big key position player. Although Jeremy McGovern probably played a bit undersized for the role that he did because he's just such a good player. Still a big enough guy for it. And he was solid enough for it too. So, they've elected to get a bit of experience into their back line. I think that's probably pretty important for their lineup. With a lot of young players and, guys like Tom McCarthy, who's come into the lineup through the mid-season pickup. He was a very high mid-season draft pick. And, he come in and, the last half of the season he played quite well. As all the fantasy people know with the points that he got. Quite a high-scoring player. I think he averaged 83. The first few games were in the hundreds. He is, middle-aged, so 23, 24. He's come into the lineup. I know he's playing midfield, sort of half-back. But, he played sort of those roles. He'll have a bit of experience around him now. Obviously, Jeremy McGovern leaving. So, Brendan Starchevich is a West Coast Eagles player. Also native to Western Australia, so he's gone back home. And, so basically the Eagles said on the trade period of Monday said they weren't deterred by the defender's concussion history, particularly after he sat out the latter stages of the AFL Grand Final, which I just mentioned. The Eagles list manager Matt Clark said that Sarcevic would be a significant addition to the backline. He also is an outstanding team-first player and a leader who will drive our developing squad forward and impact his knowledge about what it takes to be successful. So also Starchevich, Lions teammate Devon Robertson will also land at West Coast, and I believe they'll pick him up in the preseason period along with Finn McRae, and I believe that's what's going to happen there. And also, so Devon Robertson's a bit of an inside mid, but sort of an outside mid, has that sort of body shape to play that sort of role. Easily will be in their lineup. And McRae sort of played a few games at Collingwood. Easy walk-in addition to their lineup. Probably both sort of outside mids. But Robertson sort of has that toughness to sort of have a bit of both. And hard at it. It's hard to crack into Brisbane's lineup. So I'm not surprised that he'll be joining the West Coast Eagles. And we'll just quickly bring up my notes about also... they've had a few players leave, so we'll just load it up now. So just loading up. So West Coast. So also the Eagles gained a 2026 second round pick tied to St Kilda as part of the trade of sending Liam Ryan to Moorabbin. And also the Eagles losing their own 2027 third round pick. So Liam Ryan was high-flying Ryan. Quite an exciting player to watch. Indigenous lad who can just, grab the ball at a great height. And a crumbing forward. Marked really well above his head. He's sort of a mid-sized small forward. He's sort of got a little bit of height on him, but still a small forward. But he just plays quite tall above his head for his size. And, he's getting a bit older now, and he's elected to move to St Kilda, probably on a bit more money and a new deal. A bit more of experience at the forward line lost. He obviously has an impact on that team when you see him play. So, he's a good player. And, they got a second round pick as a result of it. So, it's, he gets to go to Moorabbin and play with St Kilda, and West Coast get a second round pick, which is not too bad. And also, we talked about Oscar Allen and Brendan Sarcevic. So one other player that did leave West Coast was Campbell Chesser. He was traded to Carlton. the pick number 41. So after 4 seasons as an investment, he was a former pick 14. So West Coast picked him up as pick 14. And they also had a 2-year deal on the table for him. And so I believe the Blues come in and gave a longer deal. And also, he got to return home. I believe he's from Victoria. So they didn't get a real high pick for him. Pick 41 is not really that high of a pick after he was a pick 14 and investing a lot of time in him. So that's quite interesting from that aspect. He's a bit of a midfield, type player. He could do a bit of both. Started playing good at the back end of the year. It was probably one of the sort of players that sort of stood up a bit. So they unfortunately lose him after a couple, seasons of development, and they don't really get much for him. So a bit of a downside to that. He gets to move on and start his career at the Blues. And we'll see what West Coast can get for that pick. So we'll just quickly talk about the picks they have in this draft. So pick 1, 2, 13, 34, 41, 53, 58, 80, and 98. So they've literally got 2 picks in the top 5, 1 and 2. Dersman's believed to be the one that they are targeting. We'll talk a bit about that in the draft stuff in the next few days, which is coming up. So I'll have a bit of a top 10 draft sort of look at. Sticking with West Coast, that's generally they've got 1 and 2. So they have first dibs in this year's draft, which is pretty high standard of players they can sort of look at. And also they received Tyler Young in the trade period, key position defender. Obviously with Jeremy McGovern, as I mentioned, leaving the side, Tyler Young's got to come in and be that sort of player. As I mentioned in the previous stuff with Richmond, just getting up my notes now. Which saw West Coast give up pick 38. So that's the pick they gave up for Tyler Young. Key position defender. Your 195 plus centimeter player in between that and the 200 centimeter range. He's 27, so he'll come along and be a key pillar for them. For Jeremy McGovern retiring, unfortunately. And that covers their sort of list and their picks and their trades. And they've done a fair bit this trade period. So who arrived? Renan Sarcevic and Tyler Young. Who left? Oscar Allen, Campbell Chesser, Liam Ryan. We talked about their draft picks, and those players that they brought in. So essentially they've looked at a hole in their defense and they've gone, all right, we've got a retirement for one of our great defenders, and we need to replace him, and also replace a bit of experience lost, and that brings in Brendan Starcevic, premiership player who can drive up the standards around the club. So that's, to me, quite an important one for them to do. And we'll just talk about the delisted players at West Coast. So just my notes loading up again. So West Coast, Callum Jamieson, Jack Preselli, Locke Rawlinson, and Cohen Livingston. So I think Livingston was a ruckman, from what I understand, or a forward/ruck. 199 centimeters. 20 years old, so only young, but didn't unfortunately fit into the lineup. Jack Preselli, he was a small forward, bit of a quick type player. He's 26 years old. He's been around the club. He's played a few games. He burst out on the scene early in his career. And he was sort of quick and in and under crumbing forward. who could almost play on the wing as a electric type pace type player. And yeah, he's unfortunately come to the end of his career. I don't know if he's had a few injuries and stuff like that. And yeah, so those sort of players are no longer with the club. And yeah, they've moved on with them. So that covers West Coast's delisted players. We're just going to bring up my other notes because I've got a few notes here. They've also done a trade pick. We're just going to see which that was with the Bulldogs, I believe. So yeah, West Coast and the Western Bulldogs have exchanged picks on the final day of the pick swap window. The Eagles sent the Bulldogs pick 53 in this year's AFL draft in exchange for a 2026 fourth round pick. That deal gives the Doggies a bit more flexibility in this year's draft. And yeah, the Eagles have decided to move their selection with only 5 list spots open. So that explains that one a bit. And yeah, we're explaining who they may get through the draft. It's going to be interesting. They do have some NGA Academy picks that they want to pick up. So just looking at my notes, Tyler Williamson and Charlie Ballard. So that's their, and Wes Wally and Kobe Evans, as well as a father-son prospect, Charlie Ballard, from the national draft. So yeah, there's sort of trying to what they're saying, and also why Banfield will be the next most likely. So they got a few that are they're looking at, and yeah, so the NGA trio: Tyler Williams, Wes Wally, and Kobe Evans, and 2 father-son sort of players that they're looking at. And yeah, that covers. So they've got a lot of young talent that may be coming through that could lift the club up off the bottom of the ladder. And yeah, so it's some exciting time for West Coast. A bit of change. Obviously, the new coach they've had in his first season. And a few good young players on the rise. They kept Harley Reid, and also, they've still got Liam Duggan on the lineup. Elliot Yeo should be back after injury. You got Liam Baker. Obviously, he's in the trade period last year from Richmond. Reuben Gibney, he will develop, obviously, playing down back, but I don't know why they don't put him as an inside midfielder, big-bodied midfielder. Noah Long, Matthew Owies up forward. Jack Graham, an inside midfielder that was from Richmond. Hopefully he can stay on the track and give him a bit of experience. I think Jamie Cripps re-signed on as well as a roaming sort of half forward that can do a lot of work rate down the ground and bring the ball up. Also crumbing player. So Bio Allen as well will keep developing. High draft pick from last year for West Coast. And Jack Hutchinson, Tom McCarthy, they got some, like when you look on paper, if they can develop some of these young guys into better players, I think they'll be happy with that. Obviously got some older players that are getting older and going to retire, like Elliot Yeo. So they're going to have to replace these guys. He's been injured after, coming back and playing a bit of better football for the following year before that. That does cover West Coast really well. I mean, Tim Kelly needs to get it back into a bit of form. Can guys like Harley Reid carry this club on his back? Harley Reid looked quite fit in some of the preseason photos that were just out. He's sort of developing still. And can he have a breakout year and just really carry this team on his back? He did stay at the club for an extra couple of years, which is a testament to him, and seems like could have easily went home on some big money. But yeah, I assume he probably will go home after he done a couple of years. But yeah, that's he's took some big money, and yeah, his development into a key player for them, could potentially be a future captain. And he has his cheeky antics on the field, giving the bird to the Brisbane crowd, which I thought was quite funny. They did give Brisbane a bit of a run to halfway through the third quarter, and I think that stirred Brisbane to wake up to be a better side as the season went on. I mean, they did have some games where they just looked completely out of it this year. I remember I think it was Gather Round against the Blues. The Blues just teared them apart, and they just didn't look up to AFL standard. But then later in the year, they gave the Crows a bit of a run at home. So, their back end of the year was better. And yeah, I had a few notes in this episode that I sort of had to follow because it was quite complicated. The amount of picks they sort of, and explaining how they didn't want to dilute the free agent pick that they got. And yeah, I hope you enjoy that, West Coast fans. I did cover your club pretty well. I wanted to go into a bit of depth. They've been a struggling team for the last few years. Do have a large fan base and supporter group that does rock up to their games each week for the last, forever since they've been in the AFL. So just wanted to give a shout out to their fans. They're a very loyal fan base. When they're struggling, they still show up. So that's a testament to your fan base, West Coast. And yeah, just wanted to say congratulations to that, and hopefully this year can be a better year for them. Obviously they've got some young talent coming through, some really high draft picks with Dersma, and are they going to pick up a young ruckman as well, or are they going to go for another midfielder, or are they going to go for a small forward? There's also a few gaps in their lineup that they need to address and fill, so we'll see. So yeah, just like to say thank you to all the West Coast fans. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We do have a couple guests coming on, and also the Western Bulldogs will finish the trade period chats. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone. We're moving. Once we finish on with trade chats, we'll move on to the draft sort of chats, and that'll be between guests. And also we'll do a combined thing with the fixture as well. So we'll talk about the fixtures that's just been released, and I'll go through each club, the probability of the winning and sort of losing those sort of games, and it'll be quite interesting. So we'll add that in. And we'll go into in detailed depth, obviously, excluding injuries and how the forms, it's a new year, so teams can change. But, I'd like to look at all the teams and what they get in the draft. And, we'll combine that all, and we'll try to recommend a fixture for each team and how they're going to go throughout the year. So that's it for the West Coast fans. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Cheers. Oh, also, don't forget Mac Happy Day. Get on to Mac Happy Day. $2 from each Big Mac goes to all the Ronald McDonald houses in Australia and support sick children. While also the silly socks, the bucket hats, and the helping hands. I think there's $1 ones, $2 ones, and $10 and $50 ones. So get onto it. Please support it today. I'm about to go buy 3 Big Macs and demolish them. And I would really like people to do the same thing. It's important. And just like to thank everyone for that. Everyone in Australia can get onto it. Even if you don't eat takeaway food, which should have in recommended doses, moderation. And go out and treat yourself today. It is for sick children and their families, and that is important. And AFL as a sponsor is McDonald's. So please, also just please do that. It's important for sick children and their families to have somewhere to go. So it's a special one for me. So please go do that and support it. Thank you. Cheers.